Hey everybody, it's Isaac, it's Josh.
And we haven't asked this guy what he wants to be called.
What do you want to be called, Mystery Man?
Well, Isaac and I discussed earlier, and I think we settled on Bob.
Bob.
It's Bob.
Very good.
It's Isaac.
Fitting because
it's
it is my name. It's
Bob.
We are explaining how we know you, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, good. He made the Detective Pony. He is formerly known as Sonnet Stuck. He's a big name Homestuck fan, and we are not talking to him about Homestuck at all whatsoever. No Homestuck.
No. Yep.
Happy 10/25.
Yeah,
it is
thank you
done,
very much.
Over with.
The content came in this week. We could talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
It's not even worth talking about.
I haven't even mentioned it. I haven't mentioned it yet, frankly.
I mean, it's fitting. It, by its nature, an ephemeral update. It came, it's exited, and it's gone now.
We're all just happy to be done with it. Let's just say that. Well, we're actually here to...
I think you're putting words into his mouth there. I don't know if he's disavowed Homestuck to the extent the rest of us have.
I was ready to be emotionally impacted by it, but did not hit that mark for me.
Right.
That is a shame. So I first heard of old Sonnet Stuck here back in the, I would say not at peak Homestuck, but shortly after peak Homestuck. He posted a large number of pitch-perfect sonnets about Homestuck topics.
Uh-huh.
This is a skill that most people do not possess.
It's true.
The ability to write metered poetry that is decent.
Yeah.
It is something a lot of people think they can do, but not a lot of people can actually do it.
I took some classes on that, and I still can't do it.
Yeah, no, you have to have a particular... You have to have a musician's ear and also a... sort of a lightsome and thorough appreciation for the idiom, which I would say you got. I wondered at the time, who is this guy? Can you give me like a précis? Because when Josh said like, how do we know you? The answer was we don't.
Right.
I've never spoken to you before, which makes this an interesting Trux.
Yes.
It's been I think about 12 minutes since the first time we spoke in person. Now.
Well, I wouldn't say in person.
No,
well,
even now you're a cipher. So. Right. What's your deal?
And now here I am in the truck cab with you guys. It's kind of cramped in here.
There you are.
Yep. A horse named Bob.
Sitting on Isaac's lap here.
You're a very small man.
I am. No, so that's the first fact you'll know about me. I am 6'3".
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're the same height as me and slightly higher than Josh.
We're three tall guys, it turns out.
Three tall guys and three tall trucks. Yeah.
Can we rename trucks? Gonna be three tall guys for this one episode?
Yeah, maybe.
Name the rules off the top of my head.
I'll find some clever way to make fun of that idea in the title of the episode.
But not to underrail your derail here, but how come poetry? What's that for? Very few people think that's for anything anymore. And clearly, if Detective Pony is anything to go by, you also are steeped in the classics in terms of your particular educational path.
Yes.
So what's that about? Why would a person in this day and age choose to do that, Bob?
I don't know. It's kind of a predilection that I have. I start something and 90% of the time I don't finish it, but that 10% I just grab onto it, and no matter how ridiculous, no matter how impractical, no matter how deleterious to my well-being and time and social life it might be, I grit my teeth and finish it. And Detective Pony was one of those things. Sonnet Stuck was one of those things for a number of years. There'll eventually be more. But
okay.
That's the mark of a true artist.
And was a degree in classics one of those things, or
no, degree in English.
English.
Yes, close enough.
A very small liberal arts college where I got to feel like I was very special and very intelligent, and but at the same time the exact opposite of those things, because of course
you were surrounded by very special, very intelligent
yes,
people.
exactly, yes.
Yes.
I was raised in the typical millennial, you get the star, you're the special kid, you're going to do great things with your life. And in the public high school of 2,000 people, I was one of the smart kids in high school. And then at the private college of 2,000 people, I was solidly in the middle, and that was kind of an eye-opening experience in a good way.
So you didn't find that difficult to deal with? You found that?
Very difficult.
But now that you've adjusted and become a better human being as a result,
yes, I'm happier with mediocrity.
That's good. Excellent. We here at Trux have, of course, embraced it with
I
both
absolve
arms.
you. I absolve you.
Yes. No, there is no particular responsibility Your talent does not demand anything of you, it turns out.
Isn't it wonderful? It's so freeing.
Yes.
Well, that's good. So, yeah, you're basically the same as us, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I'm a slightly more long-in-the-tooth version of the same idea. But with any luck, you'll find something to do before you get to my age. What's next for you, then? What's the next project? Given that we have Sonnet Stuck, we have Detective Pony. Surely the next thing is not going to be related to Andrew Hussey in any way, right? Not
in the least, actually. Do you want the should actually be a Trucks exclusive scoop?
Oh my god! Yes, no, please reveal what the next thing is.
Currently, so close to launching a dating simulator.
Oh,
like Christine Love.
I'm not familiar with what or who that is.
Well, I'll tell you later.
Dating simulators are
they're the coming thing.
They're the form of our times, I would say.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
What particular dating simulators inspired you in this? Can I just say that the first thing that Andrew Hussey did after Homestuck was a dating simulator?
Oh, that's true. Namco High, yes. Never actually played that, but in terms of content, probably Hatopo Boyfriend. That's just a classic. But it was actually seeing the what's called Asagawa Academy, which is kind of a dating sim made of YouTube personalities, and follow a couple of them and saw this thing, and I realized, there's a market for satirical sort of dating sims. And so my dating sim, you date Republican candidates for president.
Ah.
Oh my god, that was so close to being topical.
I know.
You'll be ready at about the time that it's topical again, I imagine.
Right.
I think it's a fine idea.
I think it is a fine idea. I think that it's certainly the coming thing in many respects. I would suggest, just sort of in order for you to do your due diligence, to check out the work of Christine Love, particularly a game called Analog Hate Story. Because A, it's a classic of the genre, and B, it does uncomfortable things with it. And I think that it's better if you have uncomfortable things in your quiver as a general matter.
Yes.
So just to touch that possibility. So why Republican presidential candidates?
Given the nature of these people, it does spur and necessitate uncomfortable sort of confrontations. Especially since you're playing as a woman, dating these people who don't all have the greatest view of women.
That sounds
fraught. To find a point on it.
That's a hell of a thing to have taken on.
Is the objective of the game to change their stances on women's issues through the power of love?
Not really. I mean, the intent was to kind of make it more lighthearted. So they are.
I guess we shouldn't get you to spill the entire
beans.
Yeah.
But you can spill as many of the beans as you feel comfortable spilling.
Oh, sure. No, hopefully by the time this is up, within a week, I'll have a Kickstarter launched with a full playable demo.
It's going up tomorrow, my dude.
Yes. No.
It's a Trucks exclusive.
So these are these personalities, but they're all high school students at Grand Old Academy. So it's all kind of wrapped in metaphor, and the overall idea being that this political cycle has been high school drama, played out on a much higher, much more high consequence stage. But bring that back down to earth and point out how petty it all is. And so the idea was to kind of divorce these personalities from their political beliefs. But kind of as I've been working on it, writing it, I realized that that's kind of impossible to do in a way.
Sure.
So I don't know if you'll be able to change them so much as reconcile yourself to them.
That is a much healthier attitude.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean,
maybe not when it comes to American politics, but definitely when it comes to matters of the heart.
Ann Coulter is married to a liberal Jew.
Is that true?
That is absolutely the truth.
No, that's interesting.
There are love will find a way. The prospect of the game being a series of ways in which love will make you find your way to accepting the beliefs of terrible human beings is,
yes,
it's going to be a unique experience. I imagine it will be a challenging one for the player. I'm actually kind of excited about this, and it seems like the sort of thing that could capture the popular imagination too.
Yes.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Hopefully the idea, going from Detective Pony, which is the most
The most
obscure, niche, sort of never make any money idea.
I'll tell you what's more obscure and niche than Detective Pony.
Is it
What's that?
It's making a audiobook of Detective Pony.
Oh, yes. Congratulations and thank you. And it was so incredible to listen to that.
Thanks.
I still honestly haven't finished because I am so terribly embarrassed of kind of the back third of Detective Pony.
Sure.
So if anything, it's kind of a testament to your work and Naked Bee's work that I was able to listen to the first 2/3. So
all credit
take
to
that
Bee,
as a
of course.
backhanded compliment and a backhanded insult / compliment to myself.
I mean, I as a person who had to read the last third of Detective Pony out loud, I sympathize with you.
Yes.
It's all B, but I was very glad to have done it. But like the point that I'm making is that it as you said, it constitutes an about face and a move into something that is like explained within a sentence. Is that a conscious decision on your part? Did you decide the next thing that I want to do is something that I want to be able to show to a lot of people as opposed to a small stratum of a small stratum, or is it just where the muse took you?
I mean, I don't know if I'd say that a political dating simulator would be able to be shown to a lot of people, but maybe an order of magnitude or two larger than
clearly
small slice. But part of it was that. Part of it was the idea of commercial viability. If I do want to be even this mediocre person, if I can make some sort of, if not a living, a profit of some kind from my art, that would be something to prove to myself at this point in my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we can't all be making wildly successful truck simulator art discussion videos.
I know.
I'm sure you're raking in the YouTube cash.
I mean, you're welcome for being cut in for this episode.
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah, no, we'll get you your share of the proceeds.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I heartily endorse this product.
Me too.
That you're producing.
I look forward to seeing this Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, Nicolas Cage.
Yes, that's what
that's actually what we came here to talk about. So you had us watch Face Off.
Yes.
We dutifully watched Face Off.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen Face Off before. I enjoyed it, I would say, more than Josh did.
Yeah.
On a repeat viewing.
I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun evening watching Face Off for sure.
It is, yes.
And we asked you to watch Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
You did.
Which is Josh's favorite Nicolas Cage movie, and you
let us down, bro.
You got 15 minutes into it.
I let you all down terribly.
Did the movie put you off? Like, did it seem horrible to you, or what exactly happened?
It didn't. It was very interesting.
Uh-huh.
I frankly just kind of ran out of time.
Fair enough.
Put it off, but it was fascinating in a way that I think is still constructive to our conversation, even though I failed you.
Well, let me hear it.
Well, the idea with Face Off was that I don't know whether it's a parody of an action movie or not. And that's kind of the starting point that I want us to start from.
Okay.
What do you think? Just, blank slate, first impression. Is this an over-the-top action movie or a parody of an over-the-top action?
I don't think it's a parody.
It's an over-the-top action movie.
It's John Woo. It is. I haven't seen a lot of John Woo, but my understanding of John Woo is that it's pretty much this all the time. Now, it should be said that there is an element of tongue-in-cheekness to this thing, right? But that doesn't make it a parody necessarily.
No. So what does it mean then that I enjoy it as a parody? I think that it's a valuable, worthwhile, entertaining piece of art as a parody. So I'm not enjoying this art as it was intended to be enjoyed.
Uh-huh,
does that mean that it's bad art?
No.
Does it mean that I'm a bad audience member for it?
No. We stuck the author in the ground where he belongs a very long time ago, I think.
Well, sure, but in that case, who are you to say it's not a parody?
Well,
I, because my opinion is as definitive as the author's opinion, if not more so, on account of how great I am, say it's not a parody, therefore it's not a parody.
Yeah, parody feels like a statement of intent in a way, but I'm curious to hear your parodical reading of it. Like, what when you say parody, are you thinking like in terms of satire, or just here's something that resembles an action movie but is funnier? Or
Here is something that resembles the object that is trying to be so much that it can't be taken seriously.
Yeah, fair enough. And that is a good way to sum up the movie's appeal, I would say.
I mean, to me, it feels...
Why can't I sleep at any of these places? I don't like it. I'm going to sleep somewhere else.
All right, go for it. It feels like a genre exercise.
Hang on, I want to talk more about this sleeping problem that Josh is having. Are these places not up to your standards?
He's physically been forbidden from sleeping in them, as far as I can tell.
There appear to be hanging stalactites in front of the parking spaces that make them impossible to park in properly.
That sounds like a fascinating adventure.
It is. I mean, Trucks is always a fascinating adventure. But, Isaac, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel that the excesses that this movie has are not out of keeping with what an action movie was, particularly in the 80s. And, you know, viewed from a current perspective in terms of what the norm and the normative tone that we expect from our action movies these days is.
Oh, yes.
It feels parodic, but it precedes that.
Yes.
It precedes the sort of, 9/11 tragedy, stumbling
Sure.
men, crying fest that contemporary action movies tend to be.
Although
while
at the
presaging
same
them in
time-
certain important respects, i.e. the fact that everything is cut to shit and you can't follow the action.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I think that in certain respects, it is an influence on the things that it's theoretically a parody of.
The inhuman personal tragedy of it. The
Yes.
deep alienation of having to be Nick Cage for a while.
But
yeah, and that's another part of it. The fact that it is Nick Cage and John Travolta. Was John Travolta really washed up at this point, or was this kind of
He was
right after?
This is probably actually sort of John Travolta getting back into the swing of things at that point.
I think so.
Yeah, but John Travolta would have been a walking punchline at that point, and so would Nick
Yes.
Cage have been.
right.
So on that level, I mean, it's clear that we want to go over the top, and in order to go over the top, we're using the most over the top people available, and that there's you are moving
There's
against.
joy.
Yes, I mean the movie is joyful. I will.
Yes.
I will absolutely say that, but it is not, and that's actually kind of why I rebel against the idea of calling it a parody, is because
It's not
it
sneering
enjoys
at
itself
anything.
too much.
Yeah.
Like the
Maybe I didn't express myself. I don't think it is a parody either. That's just the way that I enjoy it.
Sure. A parody of...
like what what is like you enjoy it because it's over the top. But but a parody implies that it is making fun, and it's like, are you making fun of this film, or are you using this film as a lens by which you can make fun of other films, or is it just that the jokes are landing the way that they're supposed to with you?
See, that's what I was hoping you could help me figure out.
I think it's the latter. I think this is a movie with
Okay.
jokes. But that doesn't make it a parody of action movies. It makes it an action movie with jokes.
It is similar to two parodies in the way their jokes function, in that its jokes seem like they don't want to read immediately intentionally as jokes, if you see what
Yes.
I mean.
Right.
They're jokes that appear to be there by accident but aren't really. And that is definitely something from the parody's bag of tricks. But I definitely think that to be a parody, you have to be poking fun at something in particular. Whereas, if this... I'll tell you what, it's a self-parody, just because every John Woo film is a self-parody.
Yeah,
Sure.
I was gonna say that because I've been up to my gonards in Utena lately, it reminds me of the way that Ikuhara works when he is unfettered,
Right.
which is that there are a lot of... I feel like this is a movie filled with decisions that generally would be first draft decisions that people would remove if
Yes,
they were interested in making a certain kind of serious cohesive piece.
Yeah.
And like there is joy to be had in not removing any of those decisions and making it and making yourself a slave to, oh, wouldn't it be funny if?
Yes.
Like, the idea, the story
picturing
that
the draft with, in parentheses, he should say something like, and then they just cross out the parentheses.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
The story that I tell about this is that way back in the day when one of the many bands that I had been in was recording a piece. We just, we were doing the vocal overdubs, and we decided that it would be a fun idea if we let our keyboard player do a rap about burritos in the middle of this part. And
sounds like a terrible.
Yeah, no, correct.
Was it?
And
okay.
Yes. I don't see how that could possibly not have been a terrible idea.
No.
And but we were having fun. We were enjoying ourselves.
Sure.
And if we were to show that to somebody, it would be like, isn't this funny? While still trying to be a rock band, right? We weren't trying to be a parody of a rock band. We were trying to be a funny, entertaining rock band.
Right.
And the guy who was recording us looked at us afterwards and said, every time with my friends that I'm recording them, this happens. You can't stop yourself from going too far. You can't stop yourself from doing the funny thing instead of the good thing.
Oh, man.
And I think that we took that to heart.
I think that kind of bridged the gap from Face Off to Nick Cage in general. That's what I love about him. He doesn't try to do the good thing. He tries to do either the funny thing or the wacky thing or the self-gratifying thing in many cases, I think. And that, to me, is kind of what elevates a lot of his movies into something that I can enjoy even though the movie itself might not be something that I generally would enjoy.
I'm a huge fan of Nick Cage. And
same.
The reason for this is that he can be relied upon to deliver a transcendent performance.
Yes.
And it's very hard to put one's finger on this, because the obvious thing when you see Nick Cage is that he doesn't come off as a human being, and none of the other characters are responding to him as though he's as bizarre as he's being, which makes him this kind of alien influence on the movie.
Right.
And this is what I value about movies like Bad Lieutenant, which is that Werner Herzog is a director who understands that in casting Nick Cage, you've gone for the nuclear option. And you the whole movie needs to respect this and pretty much be built around it. And what you have in Bad Lieutenant is definitely a cast of characters, all of whom have their various reactions to what an absurd asshole this guy is. But the other
Vampire's Kiss, I think, is similar. You two said you hadn't seen it, but it's a film about a man losing his grip on reality, and perfectly reflecting that is Nick Cage kind of losing his grip on.
I have to interrupt you here. Josh took a wrong turn quite some time ago, and I don't think he's noticed it.
It's all intentional. I'm going to this motel to sleep.
Oh, okay, never mind.
As long as we haven't flipped the truck, I think this isn't the worst.
The truck remains, as far as I know, perfectly undamaged.
Yes, this could be an excellent trucks. I mean,
if we just carry on.
He jumped the curb just as I said that.
Didn't hurt anything.
Yeah,
the cars are okay. I'm just gonna. Oh, cool! I can just kind of clog this up and sleep. Perfect. Let's do it.
Perfecto. Anyway, so it's it's a bit fine.
Badoo.
Go for it.
I was gonna say that you could read Face Off as a parody of Nick Cage and John Travolta, because it contains Nick Cage and John Travolta
parodying each other.
Yes.
Yes.
And in that regard, it might work. Although
John Travolta parodies Nick Cage with much better accuracy than Nick Cage parodies John Travolta. Nick Cage being unable to stop being Nick Cage for even a second.
Yes, that's true. It's hard to decide whether that is just that a parody of John Travolta is a less powerful thing than a parody of Nick Cage.
This is true. It is a harder thing to do.
Yes, and it's either that Nick Cage just isn't as good at parody as John Travolta is, or it's that Nick Cage's presence just dominates the movie, as it tends to do.
I wouldn't say that's true. I would say that John Travolta does a lot of work in this movie, and I think that when you say Nick Cage dominates this movie, you're saying that Nick Cage's ghost inside the body of John Travolta is dominating this movie.
His anima, as it were.
His spirit is still dancing.
Yes.
Here's another wrinkle.
Okay.
That I would like to add to this. So Nick Cage is one of the reasons that we like Nick Cage is because well, so much for the excellent trucks.
Just jackknifed another truck.
Bob, do you have an opinion about what just happened?
Well, actually, just as you said that, I was looking over to my laptop. I think I may have forgotten to hit record. So, you are
excellent trust.
We're all good. The other strategy is going to carry the day.
Yeah.
We said earlier, wouldn't it be a good idea if I hit record? And they're like, oh yes, that would be a very rational, very responsible thing for you to do.
It would have been such a good idea.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
well,
okay.
you know what? We could always do this again. This could be the draft trucks. And
three tall guys. That's all it is from now on.
Three tall guys.
Who you can't see.
So Nick Cage explodes the movies that he's in.
Yes.
He elevates the movies that he's in, and he makes them much less boring because we, who are bored by most things, find things.
We who are already dead.
We who are already dead
find Nick Cage.
Exactly. Find the way in which he seems to indicate that he is also bored by what he is doing, and therefore has to do his very best to make it interesting by, attaching a car battery to its nipples, essentially.
Yes. And that's a strange way to enjoy something, isn't it? Kind of a pre-post-mortem, you're looking at it as you're experiencing it like this dead, picked-apart thing, thinking, how to get burned, in a way.
Nice. That was good.
Soft chance I have to take that.
I have certainly stopped being able to enjoy anime in pretty much exactly that way, although that happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
But at least I can entertain people by being angry about how I can't enjoy things. That's a plus.
Right.
The other part of this is that I'm not as much of a Nick Cage fan as either of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a John Travolta fan.
Yes.
And I'm a John Travolta fan of long standing. In high school, I watched John Travolta's awful 90s movies over and over. I watched Phenomenon multiple times. I watched Michael multiple times. Are either of you familiar with Phenomenon?
I haven't seen
Michael?
any of these movies.
No.
Phenomenon is the movie where aliens, I think, give John Travolta superpowers and he becomes super smart.
Okay.
It's like Powder, except with John Travolta.
What kind of smart things does he say? Are there any money quotes?
No, he doesn't. I mean, the writers of the movie are not smart enough to convincingly simulate smartness.
So, are there any fake smart things that are particularly amazing?
I think that it mostly.
Is it like Star Trek technobabble?
No. It mostly manifests itself through telekinesis.
Oh.
Huh.
And Michael, in which he is a literal angel. He's literally the Archangel Michael.
That's
and he's
hard to picture.
He's having a romance with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh my god.
And she is a human?
Yes. She's a human. So these are two movies that I watched over and over again. And the reason that I like John Travolta, and I think the reason why I found him so compelling in Face Off as well, is because John Travolta, much as Nick Cage does an incredibly convincing impression of a person who has lost his marbles, John Travolta does an amazing impression of a person who has his marbles, and who in fact has all the marbles. He has some of your marbles also. He is one cool cat, and he's super in control of his surroundings. And I just wanted to occupy that space so much that I went back to that well over and over and be like, yes.
You liked John Travolta as an aspirational figure.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I wanted to be as cool as John Travolta playing an actual angel.
Wow.
With wings coming out of his back.
Isn't it kind of that's like fucking John Travolta in Wings of Desire. That's impossible to imagine.
This movie exists. I've seen it many times.
Couldn't we say
I
that?
would really prefer the image of John Travolta as, like a biblical cherub, just wheels of fire and wings. And just Travolta's face is kind of in the
just a
middle
chin
of it,
sticking
down.
out. Yeah.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus falling in love with that.
Don't you think that the fact that it's impossible to view Nick Cage as an aspirational figure, even in the movies where he's playing a cool, canny guy, isn't that valuable?
It's much more valuable because John Travolta is a trap, and Nicolas Cage is the answer to that trap.
The coolest
which is
guy...
why Face Off is so brilliant.
I see. Yeah, go on.
Because it posits being Nick Cage as a
horrible thing.
Well, no.
Well,
it heals Travolta.
You're
Being
right.
able to be Nick Cage heals Travolta to the extent that it literally gives him back
literally
his son.
heals his scar, and yeah.
Yes, and it literally heals his scar. It's Travolta loses control, becomes Nick Cage, the avatar of loss of control.
Oh my God.
And thereby finds himself. He unclenches, and that's why that movie is great.
That's beautiful.
He adopts Cage's son Adam, brings him home to his wife Eve.
Yes.
Do you want to read into that, please?
Well, he's...
I would say that John Woo is doing the thing that people do with Christian iconography when they make balls out action stuff, which is use it like
Evangelion.
like Evangelion. I was going to say use it like Jackson Pollock uses a palette of paint, but
We're coming to the end here.
so soon.
I know.
Barely scratched the surface.
It's kind of a short.
This
crux.
might have to be a two-parter, I think.
It might be, but I want to say this. We'll reconvene after you watch Bad Lieutenant. How about that? Because there's so much to talk about there. But here's my fucking assigned reading question for you in Bad Lieutenant, right?
Yes.
I think that we've said that the presence that kind of fills Face Off is Nick Cage, but more than that, I think the presence that fills Nick Cage is John Woo. I'm sorry.
What?
The presence that fills Nick Cage is John Woo is what I just said by mistake. But the presence that fills Face Off is John Woo, more so than Nick Cage.
Okay.
John Woo overpowers that movie in a way that doesn't feel like he's supposed to. But then again, every explosion is fireworks and there's doves everywhere. These are clear signs of John Woo making his voice apparent. Herzog does sort of the same thing in Face Off, but there's
In Bad Lieutenant.
yes, in Bad Lieutenant. But there's
A lot of nouns in this sentence.
There's an interesting anecdote
Herzog directed Face Off reboot. That would be
I would love that. That would be wonderful. But
kickstart that. Scrap my dating simulator. Start that.
we're gonna need to raise a lot of money to get Herzog to. Oh my God, this is an impossible parking job, so I have tons of time to say this. This is a truly. How the fuck? Oh my God, what the hell?
All right, welcome to part 2 of our two-part draft.
Okay, can I? So,
please.
did you get that sentence?
No,
out?
not at all. The anecdote from Bad Lieutenant's production that I wanted to say is that Herzog refused to shoot coverage during this movie. This means like he didn't get all the generic footage that you get when shooting movies. Instead, he just kind of let Nick Cage do things. He gave him a lot of power in the way the scenes were, in the way they played out. And there's actually an anecdote where Nick Cage, everybody's complaining at Herzog at not doing coverage, and Nick Cage says to everybody, shut up, I need to make an announcement. And the full length of Nick Cage's announcement was, finally, someone who knows what they're doing.
So yeah, go watch Bad Lieutenant with that in mind,
All right.
and we'll discuss that next time on Tracks. I want to say
Yes.
that I made an offhand comment earlier, which sounded like I was dissing Detective Pony, particularly the last third of Detective Pony.
No, please, it deserves that.
I would say that the exegesis is A, authentic in its painfulness, and B, functions as a, if I may be allowed to enjoy it as a parody, it is such an accurate parody of how Homestuck ends.
Yes,
And I know that was
yes.
I know it's intentional. It is absolutely intentional. No,
Of course, yeah.
yeah, and so like on that level, it kind of soars. It's just like, this will not die. This will not die. This will not die, and then
It
an
soars
excellent truck.
as it crashes and burns.
yes, exactly. I mean, if only I think that Homestuck did not quite hit the heights that the end of Detective Pony did, which again is not as much of a compliment
No.
as it might be. But I did not want to give
Wait,
the
thank you for it.
yes, I did not want to let that rudeness hang in the air without compounding it.
So how'd we do? How'd our parking job go?
Excellent.
Well, we did this
This was-
park successfully, but it was an excellent truck. The cars were delivered from San Francisco to Elko in a timely manner and in good shape.
And we are level 12 workhorse.
Yes, we remain a workhorse.
Yeah. I think that we ought to do more of this. I feel like this there's more to be delved into, and we only hit one of the 4 topics that we were intending maybe to
Yes,
address
it's
in this
true.
direction. So maybe we'll hear from you again soon.
Yeah. Next time we come back, maybe we'll all be a little bit taller. Be 3 taller men.
3 tall
Talk
dudes
about-
talk about trucks.
All right, for now, good night, truckos, and good luck. That's it.
Good night and good luck.
I don't know. I was expecting
Edward R.
someone.
Murrow up in here.
I always say the stupid.